Hey there, welcome to the Overtime Podcast where we are going into overtime. My name's Rachel Annis, and this is...
I'm Jake Barkowski.
And we are some of your youth pastors at Bayside Folsom Church in Folsom, California. Jake, what are we doing today?
So we just launched into a brand new series called The Book of Exodus, and we're looking at the story of God's people. We started with the first 2 chapters last night, and we get the rescue plan that God is unfolding for the people of Israel. We come from the story of Joseph, where God has invited all of the Israelites down into Egypt to rescue them from famine. And in 2 chapters of the Book of Exodus, we fast forward through 400 years. God's people are enslaved in Israel. They've been crying out this whole time for God to rescue them, and we're beginning to get the origin story behind Moses and his plan and God's plan to use Moses to rescue God's people. And we ended with this big idea. As the people cried out, wondering if God was going to save them, wondering if anything was going to happen, we get the big idea that through Moses that we get to see that God hears you, God sees you, and God cares for you.
Absolutely, 100%. We believe that that is God's character and that is God's heart for us. And so here's the point of the Overtime Podcast, is that on a Wednesday night, we only have so much time to dive into the Bible. We only have so much time in small groups, and we know that the conversation can keep going. So that's what we're doing today. We're continuing the conversation. We're going into overtime. But we know that you don't want to hear us just keep yapping and talking and all the things. We're actually about to invite up 4 of our students that are going to continue this conversation. So let's invite them in and let's go into overtime.
Welcome to the Book of Exodus. My name is Clem, and I'm here with my friends.
I'm Caleb.
I'm Juliana. And I'm Riley.
And we're just going to be talking about the story of Exodus. Now, have you guys ever read the entire story of Exodus all the way through, or have you watched The Prince of Egypt or heard it growing up, or what do you know about the story of Exodus?
I definitely know the Sunday school version of it, just the bare minimum, honestly.
Yeah.
I know they were in the desert.
I like that.
Yeah, I know the story of Moses pretty well. My dad likes to focus on that one a lot when he talks about it.
Mm-hmm. I think it is a very powerful story. Just it's a pretty long one though, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And when they were in the desert, like Caleb said, and when they were waiting for a very long time throughout being everywhere, Exodus is just a book of waiting and eventually deliverance. And what is something that you guys have waited a long time for, or you feel like you wait a long time for that just never seems to come, or it's going to come, but you're just in that period of waiting right now?
I think forgiveness is a big one. Whether it's for someone else or for yourself, it's it honestly takes time to process what happened or what'd you do or what someone else did, thinking over how you can forgive them, and then truly taking the time to forgive them and go to God about it, and not just be oh, I forgive you, truly letting that be free.
Yeah, I really like that.
For me, it's sometimes just in prayer. Just sometimes I'll be praying stuff, and some things that I've prayed still haven't happened to this day. So it's just trusting in God and knowing that He'll do what He wants with it. So I'm kind of at peace with the waiting.
Yeah.
With me, I really want a girlfriend right now, but I know I just gotta wait. I gotta wait on God's timing. I'm only a freshman, so we're just seeing where it goes. Do you have anything to say with that one, Riley?
I think forgiveness, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Should we do an icebreaker? I mean, we kind of just jumped into it. I don't think we need an icebreaker, do we?
No, I mean, we
all right.
Go.
Let's just do it.
It's more fun.
What's your guys' shoe size? How about that?
Goofy eye.
Bro, it depends on the shoe. What?
It depends on the shoe.
Yeah.
10.5.
How about your European size? Do you guys know your European size?
46.
No,
Your Birkenstock size.
46.
I know mine off the top. What do you?
What's yours, Mom?
Mine is 43 thin. So it's 'cause I got skinny feet. So they got the normal and they're wide, and mine's the thin.
I feel normally I'm an 8.5. I don't know when I go to the shoe store. What?
Spotlight's on, Riley. 8.5. Okay. All right. Now that we got the icebreaker out of the way, 2 questions in. When you look at the world, what is something that you're God, come on. I know you see this. Come on. What's something like that in the world?
I feel equality. Racism and everything. Fairness.
Yeah.
Just general hate, war.
Yeah. That's something I've been why? Let this slide. Thank you, bro.
And like, what's something that you, let's see, what is something that you kind of like cry out, like you see and you like cry out to God, like, how can you see this and be like not doing anything about it? How can you see this and not have all your people on earth go flooding to these people and be like, hey, like, we want to save you? Like, what is kind of something in everyday life that you're like, this needs to change? Like, I am crying out to you, Lord, I want this to change. I don't want to keep living like this. With anything.
I feel like for me it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a same question reworded a little bit,
Yeah.
but might get the gears turning.
Trying to trick us.
Yeah, a little bit.
Alright.
And do you guys struggle with waiting at all?
Yeah.
Definitely.
And why is that?
I feel like because we're so used to everything being
Mm-hmm.
just so quick.
Excessive.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just want an answer, you go look it up or something
Mhm.
like that.
What are some things you feel that just like come at you like instantly and you're like, this is why I have struggle waiting, or I have a hard time waiting?
I think a lot of things. I think let's take like Amazon, for example. You put something
That's
in your
on
car.
here. It's really on there, yeah.
You put something in your car and it's like there at your door the next day. But I feel like when it comes to God, the reason it takes so long is because he has something so good planned. Like, it's not something you can just rush.
And how do you think this like kind of instantaneousness of the world and just everything around us affects our relationship with God and our having to wait with him sometimes and having to wait on his timing?
I think we try and rush him. I think we get impatient, and it's not fair because, like, he's just so beyond, like, worthy of everything, and we're so little compared to him that, like, we think that we can just, like, rush him when we can't, and we shouldn't be doing
I
that.
100% agree. Like, sometimes in my life, I'm really just like, okay, go, 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 when I really just need to be like, whew, and just kind of like stay where I am, wait for him, and just kind of rest in God and not like rush in myself. Do you guys understand that?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. What do you say to someone who feels like God doesn't see, hear, or care about their situation? I like this one.
This one's deep.
Yeah.
Because, like, when they were out in the desert, they would just, like, call out, they would worship, but then at the same time, they would struggle, and they'd be like, God, do you really hear us? Are you really here with us? And they would have to be patient, and I'm pretty sure it says, like, they were struggling keeping faith. And,
Yeah.
I mean, actually, no, they were, because they made, like, all these idols and things. So what is something that you are just like, man, do you really hear me or care or see what is going on?
I think for me, I try to focus on the little things or even like the big things that are going well in my life instead of that aren't going my way. Because I know the way that I have planned out for myself might not be the way that he has planned out for me. And so I just kind of appreciate like what I have in the moment and what he's given me and build from that.
I like that. Riley, Caleb, want to touch on that?
Still thinking.
Okay. Just feel free to blurt out whenever.
All right.
Let's go to the next one. If a friend told you, you don't know what I'm going through, what is the best way to respond?
They're right. I mean,
I like that, though. I like that. I was not expecting that. That's good.
if we're being fully honest, I think a lot of people will come to someone and expect like that answer of being like, well, pray or read your Bible or just like go talk to someone about it. But sometimes you honestly just need to be like, you're right. I don't know what you're going through, but God does. So just spend time with him. Just surround yourself with him and just know that like he has you. And I think just whether that's like sitting in your car listening to worship or reading your Bible or going to watch sunset and like just be there with God.
Yeah, I really like that answer. That was not what I was expecting, but that was really good. I think like I agree with you. Like, yeah, I don't know what you're going through, but like at the same time, God does, and he knows how to help. And there's no problem like too small, too big. there's no problem he does not care about in your life because you're one of his children. He wants to do anything he can to like almost lift you up, I want to say, you know, like he wants to do anything he can to put you in the right position to where your future is set and you are just on his path.
Yeah.
I wrote down the same thing. Like, I don't understand what you're going through. Like, you're right, but God does. He understands and he knows what you're going through.
And like, I think us looking at the book of Exodus and the story of them, like kind of in the desert and throughout in their period of waiting, like we can have an idea of what that was like, but we can't be like, oh, I was there, I know. Like they were there. The Israelites knew what they were going through, but we don't know. We don't know how it was. And I feel like sometimes we can look at it and be like, why were they building these calves? Like God was with them the entire time. Like we know this and we know they're going to get delivered, but they were there for what, like 50 years? And they were just waiting and waiting and waiting in the desert for that long. And also everywhere else, they were waiting and waiting. Like, are we ever going to be delivered? And I think being in that position, we would struggle a lot more. And I think we can sit here and say like, oh, that's easy. Like I would have faith, but like, would we really, you know?
Yeah, I think it was 400.
400? Was it really? Did I mess that up that bad? All right, 400.
And like, yeah, like
that's even crazier though. That's even, that's literally, that's like in school, I was doing like something on Shakespeare. Like Shakespeare was alive 400 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And like, you're going to experience like your parents dying and then you're going to die and then your kids are going to die. All that happens before God saves. Like, that's like crazy. You never like, how do you keep your faith? Right now, if I was in the desert, say I was 150 years in, if I was in the desert, I would never get to see like my kids, or I would never get to hear like, oh, we're getting delivered soon. Like I would never know any of that. I would be in the dark completely. And it's like, it's just like, boom, like that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Oh, yeah.
No, I feel like that ties back to like the patience part because they had to wait so much longer. And even though like they didn't really stick close to God, I feel like it was more waiting. And now we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we live so day to day and we live so like boom, boom, boom. It's really hard to just be like, okay, I'm waiting. Yeah, like waiting a week is hard, like let alone 400 years.
They're like coming in a month. And like that month was the longest month ever, bro.
Oh, Jesus Saves pants. Those are so cool, dude.
It took a month.
Yeah.
That felt like a long time.
Yeah, like I'm waiting for like my big 16 update. Like, you know, I'm 15 right now, waiting for my 16 update, and like that's gonna be so cool. I get to drive. I get to like I have so much more freedom, but like
it's gonna feel like a long time.
Like I'm almost at the 15.5 update, which is like it's like a
permit.
It's like a to fix the fix the bugs kind of thing, yeah. But like when I get to that 16 update, I'm like, oh, finally, yeah. Like I'm delivered from the 15 update,
and just like the 18 and the 21 update, like even
dude, the 21 update's gonna be crazy. Yeah, like I'm like not saying I would drink, but like I am legally allowed to drink. I have that freedom. Yeah. It's like I can like. I do not support gambling at all, but like
you can gamble
if I wanted to, yeah, buy smokes. If I wanted to, I could go gamble, and I could be like, ding, 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 you know?
Yeah.
Like it's. I honestly, I don't think I'm ever gonna want to gamble, but like it's the idea that I have that freedom, and it's like the people in. Like the Israelites, like they did not have that freedom, you know. They were just like they were stuck there. They didn't know when their update was coming. They were like, when are we gonna get our deliverance update? And it's like they had no idea. I know when I'm getting my 16 update. Yeah. I know when I'm getting my 21 update, and it's still hard. Like it is tough.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, what do you? Never mind.
I mean, I think with like something that comes with that is distraction, and it comes very easily. Like when you're waiting for something, you're like, okay, I don't want to focus on the waiting part because that's annoying. So I'm going to go do this. And I feel like that's a big part of like your walk with God. It's like, okay, I'm done waiting for him to like fix this in my life. So I'm going to walk the other way. But I think what's so amazing about God and his love for you is that no matter how far off the path you get, you will always come back to him, and he will always have just been in the same place waiting for you. I saw a thing on Instagram the other day, and it was a picture and it was like a little slideshow, and it was this guy, and he like started his walk with Jesus, and then he kind of started being like, oh, high school life, you know, party life, this thing and this thing, and he was walking away, and he like kept walking, and he realized that that road like led to nowhere, and he was like, is it too late to turn around? And so he tried turning back around, and he finally like met up with God, but it wasn't like where he used to be with him. And then the next slide was like this little pebble like being thrown at the guy from the consequences of like what he did on his walk away from God. And then Jesus was just like standing there above him, like holding away this big rock and like all these other things being thrown at the guy. And I think that's a really good like representation of his love. Like no matter how much you fail him, he'll never fail you.
He's still.
Yeah.
It's like that thing where the like person's in the bed and it's like shame, guilt, and it's like Jesus standing there with like this, like
Yeah,
on
like
his
just
knees.
protecting. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now in one of your periods of waiting, I think this is gonna be our last question. Does that sound good? That sound good? Okay, last question. In your periods of waiting, was it ever hard to keep hope, or be like, this is the light at the end of the tunnel, or just see your waiting period out to fruition without any like hiccups? Was it ever hard to do that?
Definitely.
It's just hard to wait.
Yeah. I think that's a general thing.
Yeah, like, I can't even wait till like my grandma's cookies come out the oven.
For real. Like I'm setting that timer for 8 minutes and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like watching them the whole time.
Like you put in Brawl Stars and it still doesn't help.
Yeah.
But again, the waiting,
Or
like
clock
that just
waiting.
gets you more and more excited.
Yes,
Like the
yes.
closer the closer you get, then the better the cookies are.
It's like, yeah. Like,
gosh, 30 more seconds
hey, when I
come out, and it's like the fresh smell and everything like that.
and I think for the Israelites, like that was kind of their big light at the end of the tunnel. They were like, you know, maybe they were 300 years in, and
But it's all worth it.
it's all worth it. And they were finally seeing that, like, all the suffering we went through, all the pain we went through to get here was so worth it. Like they got their big deliverance update and they were so hyped. Like I would be like over the moon for that.
I think we all would.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a good talk about the book of Exodus. Thank you
Yes.
guys for
Thank you.
and thank you behind the cameras and on everything. Jake,
Awesome
Rachel,
speaking to you
providing
all.
Yeah. Good speaking to you guys.
That was an awesome conversation from Riley, Juliana, Clem, and Caleb. My favorite part was when Clem asked the question, what do you say to someone when they say basically like, you don't know what I'm going through. How am I supposed to keep going? And there was a little bit of tension. And then Juliana said, they're right. You don't know what I'm going through, but God does know what you're going through. And that sometimes the best thing we can give to someone is our presence, listening, and reminding them like, hey, you're right. I don't know what you're going through exactly. I'm not in your head. I'm not in your heart, but God knows your head and your heart better than you do. And so I love that part of the conversation. I can't wait to keep listening to more conversations.
Yeah, this was so awesome. I love the idea that we get to have conversations with you guys to keep things going in overtime. So if you want to be a part of the next conversation, come hang out with us at Bayside Folsom Wednesday nights, 6:30 to 8:30 to carry on the conversation and hear more of Overtime.
And that was the Overtime Podcast. Catch you next week.